She texted her boss by mistake. He replied and fell madly in love. She meant to text her best friend, but accidentally sent it to her boss. It was late. She was angry, heartbroken. And in that one message, she confessed more than she ever intended. The next morning, he read it and replied. What started as a mistake turned into the beginning of something she never saw coming. Before we continue, if you enjoy touching and inspiring stories like this one, make sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Now, let's get back to the story. It was nearly midnight when Emily hit send. Her fingers were trembling, her eyes heavy from a long day at the cafe, and her heart still stinging from the argument she had with Jake, her on-again, off-again boyfriend of 2 years. The message wasn't meant to go anywhere important, just a half-angry, half-sarcastic vent to her best friend, Alana. I swear, if one more guy treats me like a backup plan, I'm gonna quit men and marry my job. At least my boss doesn't ignore my texts. She laughed bitterly, tossed her phone aside, and curled under the thin blanket on her twin-sized bed. The next morning, her alarm buzzed at 6:15 a.m., just like it did every day. Emily yawned, rubbed her eyes, and grabbed her phone to silence the alarm. And that's when she saw it. Message sent to Mr. Grant, boss. Her stomach dropped. She blinked 3 times. No, no, no! Her heart pounded in her chest as she opened the message thread. Yep, it was there. Sent. Read. Read 11:58 p.m. Her legs went numb. She sat on the edge of her bed, clutching her phone like it might explode. Mr. Grant wasn't the kind of boss who laughed off mistakes. He wasn't rude. But he was serious, private, clean-cut. The kind of guy who spoke in full sentences, always polite, but never personal. Not even a single emoji in 3 years of working under him. And she just told him she'd marry her job because he didn't ignore her texts. Emily groaned, dropped her head into her hands, and let out a long sigh. Kill me now. She debated texting again, apologizing, pretending it was a joke, blaming autocorrect. But none of it sounded convincing, especially not to a man like Nathan Grant. She arrived late to the cafe, still panicking. Her hands shook as she clocked in. Hey, Em, her coworker Jessie whispered. You okay? I might have just accidentally told our boss I want to marry him. Jessie blinked. What? Emily winced. Long story, wrong text. It was supposed to go to Alana. Jessie burst out laughing. Oh my God! And did he say anything? Emily shook her head. Nothing. He read it. That's worse. By noon, she was sweating every time the doorbell jingled, praying it wasn't him. She could barely focus on customers. Every clang of the register sounded louder. Every second dragged. Then, around 2:43 p.m., Nathan Grant walked in. He wore the usual navy blazer, crisp shirt, and that unreadable expression. His dark eyes scanned the cafe like they always did, checking the cleanliness, the flow, the staff. Emily froze. Emily, he said, his voice calm. My office, when you have a moment. Her heart leapt to her throat. She managed a weak nod and followed him through the staff door and down the hallway. Her palms were sweaty, her breath short. He closed the door behind them. Silence. Nathan leaned against his desk, arms crossed. He stared at her, but not in an angry way. More like curious. I read your message, he said finally. She covered her face with both hands. I swear, it wasn't for you. It was about my ex and… Oh my God. I'm so sorry, Mr. Grant. I swear I didn't mean… It's fine, he interrupted, calmly. You don't need to explain. Emily peeked through her fingers. I don't? He shook his head. We've all sent a message to the wrong person before. She nodded, mortified. I just wanted to say… He paused and something changed in his eyes, softer, lighter. You're not invisible. Emily blinked. What? I don't ignore your texts. I see all of them. Every schedule change, every shift you cover. Every time you pick up someone else's mess without complaining." He looked at her. Really looked. "You're a great employee. And, more than that, you seem like someone who gives too much and gets too little in return." She didn't know what to say. The room felt warmer, like the walls had inched closer. Her heart beat faster, not out of panic, but something else. "I hope your boyfriend realizes what he's losing," Nathan added quietly. Emily's eyes widened. "He's actually not my boyfriend anymore." He gave the faintest smile. "Then maybe that was your best decision this week." She stared at him. For the first time in years, her boss didn't feel like a stranger in a suit. "I should get back to work," she whispered. He nodded. "Of course." She turned to leave, her mind spinning. But before she opened the door, he said one last thing. "Emily?" She turned. "If you ever want to talk to someone who will reply, I'm a good listener." Emily didn't answer. She just nodded and stepped out. She didn't know what was happening, but something had definitely shifted. Emily spent the rest of the day somewhere far from reality. Every order she took, every coffee she poured, it all felt like she was moving through water. Her body was at the cafe, but her mind was replaying the words Nathan said to her. "You're not invisible. If you ever want to talk to someone who will reply." It was strange. For the past 3 years, Nathan Grant had just been the boss. Polite, serious, always dressed like he was heading to a courtroom. But yesterday, in that tiny back office, he'd looked at her like he actually saw her. That night, Emily sat in bed with her phone, ready to spill everything to Alana. But before she could type a single word, a notification popped up at the top of her screen. New message from Mr. Grant. Her heart skipped a beat. "Hope your evening is better than your morning. Let me know if you ever need someone to talk to. Or just good coffee." An emoji from Nathan. She stared at it, wide-eyed. She didn't reply right away. She didn't even know what to say. Part of her still felt embarrassed. The other part was smiling like an idiot. The next morning, Emily arrived early, on purpose. Nathan wasn't there yet, which helped her breathe a little easier. But at exactly 9:03 a.m., he walked through the front entrance. The front. He never used the front, and he was holding 2 coffees. "Good morning," he said, stopping at the counter. Emily blinked. "Good morning." He held one of the cups toward her. "The one on the right is yours, vanilla latte, no whipped cream. That's what you like, right?" She took the cup, stunned. "How do you know that?" "You always order it during our monthly closeout meetings." He smiled, really smiled. It wasn't polite or formal, it was almost shy. Emily laughed under her breath. "And here I thought you didn't even notice who was in the room." "I notice," he said, "more than I let on." Just a few seconds passed, but something shifted between them. A moment hung in the air that neither of them acknowledged, and neither of them could quite ignore. From then on, Nathan started stopping by the counter once or twice a day. Nothing inappropriate, nothing anyone else would find strange, but Emily noticed. He'd ask how her night classes were going. He remembered her dog's name. He'd quietly refill the tip jar when no one was looking. And every night, without fail, she got the same message. "Good night, Emily. Rest well." And every night, she waited for it. A week later, during a hectic Saturday shift, Emily's phone buzzed in her apron. It was a call from her mom. "Jake showed up," her mom said, her voice tight. "He just knocked on the door, said he wants to talk to you." Emily nearly dropped the plate in her hand. "What did you tell him?" she asked, heart racing. "I told him you're working, but he said he'll wait. I don't trust him, Em." "I don't either," she whispered, staring blankly at the espresso machine. Jake, the boy she used to love, the same one who ghosted her more times than she could count. Now he was back, as if nothing had happened. At the end of her shift, Nathan showed up at the register like he had been doing lately. But this time, he looked at her a little longer. "You okay?" he asked. Emily hesitated. "My ex showed up at my mom's house, unannounced." Nathan didn't speak right away. He just nodded slowly. "Want a ride home?" She blinked. What? No, it's okay. I'm taking the bus. I know, he said calmly, but sometimes it helps to have someone sit in the front seat, even if they don't say a word. Her lips curved. He was making it hard not to like him. Okay. They didn't talk much in the car. Nathan played soft instrumental music. The city lights reflected through the windshield, and Emily found herself feeling something she hadn't felt in a long time. Safe. I didn't think my week would end like this, she said quietly. How so? He asked, with my boss giving me a ride and being more caring than any guy I've ever dated. Nathan chuckled softly, still looking at the road. Maybe your standards have been too low. She laughed, and for a while they both just sat in the kind of silence that didn't feel awkward at all. When he pulled up in front of her apartment building, Emily hesitated before getting out. Thank you for the coffee, and the ride, and for... She struggled to find the words. For seeing you, he offered. She nodded, heart pounding. Nathan leaned forward just a little. Not too much, but just enough for the air between them to change. You deserve to be seen, Emily, and heard, by someone who doesn't just take what they need and leave you with the rest. Emily held her breath. For a second, it felt like he was going to say more, or do something, but instead, he pulled back. Good night, he said. Take care, all right? She nodded and stepped out of the car on shaky legs. As she reached the gate to her building, her phone buzzed again. If he comes back and makes you question your worth, remember what I said. You deserve more than pieces. Emily stood there in the night air, phone pressed to her chest. She didn't know what was happening between them. She didn't even know what she wanted yet. But one thing was clear. Nathan Grant was no longer just her boss. And this, whatever it was becoming impossible to ignore. Emily hadn't stopped thinking about that message. You deserve more than pieces. She read it again the next morning before even brushing her teeth. It wasn't just the words, it was who they came from. Nathan, the man who had spent 3 years speaking to her only about scheduling and payroll, and now suddenly felt like the only person who actually got her. She knew the boundaries, knew how it looked. He was her boss. She was a barista working part-time while trying to finish a degree. There was a line, clear and professional. But lately, it was blurring. That Monday, Nathan wasn't at the cafe. Emily asked Jesse if he had called in. He said he had some meetings off-site, Jesse replied. But he sounded different, like distracted. Emily tried not to think too much about it, but she felt a twinge of something she couldn't explain. Disappointed? Lonely? She wasn't sure, but she missed him. When she finished her shift and walked toward the bus stop, her phone vibrated. Nathan Grant. I have a meeting nearby. Want to grab a coffee before you head home? She stood frozen on the sidewalk for a second, then typed back, Aren't we surrounded by coffee all day? His reply came quickly. Exactly, let's drink some we didn't have to make. They met at a little cafe 4 blocks from where she worked. A cozy spot tucked between a bookstore and a florist. The kind of place with soft jazz playing, mismatched furniture, and candles burning even during the day. When Emily walked in, Nathan was already at a table near the window. Sleeves rolled up, tie loosened. He looked different here, less like a boss, more like a man trying to breathe. Hey, she said, sitting across from him. Hey, he smiled. I almost ordered for you. Oh, what did you almost get? Vanilla latte, no whipped cream, he said, raising an eyebrow. Classic. She laughed. The waiter came, took their order, and left them alone. For a while, they just talked, not about work, not about shifts or schedules or customer complaints, but about books, childhood, and music. Nathan told her he used to play piano but stopped when his father passed away. Emily shared how her dad left when she was 12 and how her mom had worked 2 jobs to keep them afloat. It was easy, strangely easy. Then halfway through her second sip, Emily said something she hadn't planned to. Do you think this is wrong? Nathan looked up, confused. What do you mean? This. She motioned between them. Us having coffee like this. Me being your employee. Nathan didn't answer immediately. He leaned back, considering. I've asked myself the same thing, he said. And? I don't know, he admitted. All I know is, I've never looked forward to a conversation the way I look forward to talking to you. Emily felt her cheeks warm. But we haven't done anything, he added. Just talked. She nodded. But it feels like more, doesn't it? Nathan looked down at his hands. It does. Their coffee sat between them, forgotten. The mood had shifted, from light to heavy, but not in a bad way, in a real way. Can I ask you something? Emily said after a long pause. Of course. Have you ever been in love? Nathan hesitated. Once, years ago. It ended badly. Why? She didn't want to wait. I was building the cafe, working nonstop, and she thought I wasn't committed enough. She left. And now? Now I don't build anything I'm not ready to keep. Emily looked at him. That answer? It stayed with her. Not flashy, not dramatic, just honest. The next morning, Nathan was back at the cafe like nothing had changed. No lingering glances, no awkward tension. And yet, something had changed. They weren't just boss and employee anymore. They were something else, something unnamed. And that made what happened next even harder. It was Thursday afternoon when Emily saw Jake. He was waiting for her outside the cafe, hands in his pockets, eyes full of false charm. Hey, Em. She stopped cold. What are you doing here? She asked. I've been trying to talk to you. I didn't answer for a reason. I just want to explain, he said, stepping closer. Can we get coffee or something? Before she could respond, Nathan appeared behind her, speaking calmly but firmly. She's working, Jake. Jake turned, surprised. Oh, you must be the boss. Nathan nodded. I am. Emily's heart thudded in her chest. Jake gave a little laugh. Wow, you really upgraded, huh? Emily stiffened. I think you should go, Nathan said. Not angry, just certain. Jake scoffed, backing away. Whatever, this whole thing is ridiculous anyway. He walked off. Emily stood frozen, trying to hold herself together. Nathan waited until Jake was out of sight, then turned to her. You okay? She nodded. Yeah, thanks. I didn't mean to overstep. You didn't. He needed to hear that. But inside, something had cracked. Jake showing up like that, again, reminded her how easily her past could come crashing into her present. Later that night, Emily got another message from Nathan. If you ever want to talk about it, you don't have to do it alone, she typed back. Maybe we should take a step back. Just for a while, before this becomes something it shouldn't. The typing dots appeared, then disappeared. A minute passed, then came his reply. If that's what you want, I'll respect it. But I need to be honest. It's already become something I think about every day. Emily stared at the screen. Her hands trembled. And in her chest, the first flicker of fear and longing. Because she knew she wasn't just caught between two men. She was standing at a crossroads, and whatever came next, there was no going back. The days felt longer without him. Emily didn't expect it to sting this much. After all, she was the one who asked for space. But now that it was here, real, silent, and stretching across every hour of her shift, it felt like a cold draft through a once warm room. Nathan respected her message. He hadn't texted, hadn't hovered, hadn't dropped by the counter once. He had stepped back, exactly like she asked. And somehow, that made her want to cry. Jessie noticed first. You and Mr. Grant aren't talking anymore? Emily tried to shrug it off. It's just work. Jessie raised an eyebrow. Girl, please. That man used to breathe in your direction at least 3 times a day. Emily managed a laugh, but it was hollow. She kept busy, took extra shifts, focused on school. But every time she passed his office door and it stayed shut, every time she checked her phone and saw nothing, it chipped away at her. And still, she said nothing. Until one night, a week later, when she came home and found her mom waiting in the living room, arms crossed, phone in hand. "Jake called me again," her mom said. "He asked if you were seeing someone else." Emily rolled her eyes. "Seriously?" "I told him it wasn't his business, but her mom softened. "You okay?" Emily sat on the armrest of the couch. "I think I might have pushed away someone who actually cared, just to protect myself." Her mom leaned forward. "People who really care don't scare that easily. If it's real, it doesn't disappear just because you step back." Emily nodded slowly. She wanted to believe that. She just wasn't sure if she had waited too long to find out. 3 days later, something unexpected happened. Emily was restocking syrup bottles when the door to Nathan's office opened. "Emily," he said, his voice steady but unreadable, "can I speak with you for a moment?" She froze. "Of course," she replied. Inside the office, he didn't sit behind his desk like usual. He stood beside the window, looking out at the city for a moment before turning to her. "I wanted to let you know I've decided to step back from day-to-day operations," he said, "starting next week." Emily's throat tightened. "What? Why?" "There's an opportunity opening up in Chicago. A partner from an old project offered me a role." He paused. "I haven't accepted yet, but I'm thinking about it." She didn't answer right away. "I didn't want you to hear it from anyone else," he added. "You deserve to know." Her heart dropped. "I thought we were just giving each other space," she said softly. "We were," Nathan replied. "But space has a way of stretching into silence, and silence starts to feel like goodbye." "I didn't want it to be goodbye." He looked at her, and there it was again, that familiar stillness, that invisible thread between them that hadn't snapped, even after everything. "I didn't either," he said, "but I didn't want to stay and make things harder for you." Tears prickled behind her eyes, but she held them in. "You're not the one making things harder," she whispered. "It's me. I got scared." "I know," he said gently. There was a pause, a heartbeat between them. Then Emily took a breath. "If I told you not to go," she asked quietly, "would you stay?" Nathan's jaw tightened, but his voice stayed calm. "I would, but only if you're asking me to stay because you want to build something, not because you're afraid of losing something." Emily looked down. That's what terrified her the most, how much she wanted to hold on without knowing how to do it right. "I need to be honest too," she said. "I don't know where this goes. I'm still figuring myself out. But when you're not around, I feel like something good is missing." Nathan stepped forward just one pace, just enough. "I don't need a label," he said. "I don't need promises. I just need you to stop pretending like what we have doesn't matter." She looked up at him, eyes full. "I'll try," she said, "if you give me a little time." "I've got time," he replied, "but Chicago won't wait forever." She managed a tiny smile. "Neither will I." He looked at her for one long moment. "Then tell me when you're ready," he said. "And I'll be here, if you still want me to be." And just like that, he walked out of the room. But before the door closed, he turned back. "Oh," he added, "Jake stopped by the building yesterday." Emily stiffened. "What?" "I didn't say anything to him, but he was asking questions." "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "I didn't want to distract you from figuring out what you want." Emily's stomach dropped. "He's not done." "No," Nathan said, "but I think neither are we." Emily couldn't sleep that night. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling. The faint hum of the city leaking through her open window. Nathan's words echoed in her mind. "I don't need promises. I just need you to stop pretending like what we have doesn't matter." She wasn't pretending. She was just afraid of getting it wrong. Every time something in her life had started to feel stable, someone had pulled the rug out from under her. And now, Nathan was offering something so rare, so careful, so real, and it scared her more than anything. But one thing was clear now. If she waited too long to speak up, she might lose him for good. The next day, Emily walked into the cafe with one purpose: to talk to Nathan. She didn't know what she would say, or how, but she was going to try. She was going to stop letting fear do the talking. Except Nathan wasn't there. "Mr. Grant left early," Jessie said, rinsing cups at the sink. "Said he had a meeting out of town. Chicago, I think." Emily's heart sank. It was happening. He was testing the waters, getting ready to go. She pulled out her phone and typed a message. "I'd like to talk tonight, when you're back." But before she could send it, a new message popped up. "Jake, hey, we need to talk. I'm outside your place, please." Emily froze. She hadn't heard from him in over a week, not since he showed up at the cafe. But now he was at her door again? She looked at the time. 6:03 p.m. Her mom wasn't home. She lived upstairs. Alana was working late. For one brief moment, Emily considered ignoring the message. But then a second one came. "I just want to say goodbye, that's all." That tugged at something. A goodbye. She took a breath, grabbed her jacket, and left her shift early, telling Jessie she had a family emergency. When she got home, Jake was standing at the bottom of the steps with that familiar half-smile she used to fall for. "I just wanted to talk," he said, hands stuffed in his hoodie pockets. "Can we?" Emily nodded slowly. 5 minutes. They walked around the block, just like they used to back when they'd fight, cool off, then pretend everything was okay. But it wasn't okay now. "I saw you with that guy," Jake said. "He's my boss," she answered quickly. "And he's none of your business." Jake looked away. I know I messed up. I didn't think you'd move on so fast." Emily stopped walking. "Fast? Jake, you disappeared for months. You left me hanging every time I needed you. You only show up when it's convenient, for you." "I know," he muttered. "But I'm trying. Doesn't that count for something?" She shook her head. "Not anymore." There was a beat of silence before he spoke again. "I'm leaving town," he said. "For real this time. I got a job offer down south. Thought you should know." Emily blinked. "That's good." He nodded. "Maybe you're right. Maybe we were never going to work." "We weren't," she said quietly. Jake laughed once. "Still hurts, though." She didn't reply. She just started walking back toward her building. He followed, quietly. When they got to her steps, he turned and said, "You loved me once, Em. I did too. I hope he doesn't hurt you like I did." Then he walked away, hands in his pockets, without turning back. Emily stood frozen for a long time, not crying, not angry, just done. And that, somehow, was the hardest part. Later that night, she sat by her window, waiting for Nathan, waiting for his car to pull up, waiting for that quiet knock, waiting for something to remind her it wasn't too late. And then, around 10:47 p.m., her phone buzzed. "Nathan Grant. I'm back. Can I come by?" Her fingers trembled as she typed, "Yes, please." When he arrived, he didn't say anything right away. He just looked at her like he hadn't breathed all day. "I almost left," he said quietly, standing in her doorway. "I know," she said. He looked exhausted, torn, but still calm. "You don't owe me anything, Emily. But I need to know, before I make a choice I can't undo, if there's a reason for me to stay." She stepped closer. "There is," she whispered. I needed to close the door behind me before I opened another." "And did you?" he asked. She nodded. "Jake's gone. For good." Nathan exhaled slowly. "I don't know what this is yet," she said. "But I want to find out. With you." That was all it took. He stepped inside. They sat on the couch side by side, knees touching lightly. The city lights poured in through the window. Nothing happened. No kiss, no promises, just silence, thick with emotion and quiet relief. And then, a knock. 3 sharp knocks on the door. Emily and Nathan both turned. She frowned. "I'm not expecting anyone." Another knock, louder this time. She got up hesitantly, heart starting to race again. She opened the door just an inch, and froze. It wasn't Jake. It wasn't her mom. It was a woman, late 20s, hair tied back, well-dressed, poised. "Hi, I'm sorry," the woman said, glancing past Emily into the room where Nathan still sat. "I'm looking for Nathan Grant," Emily's voice caught. "Who are you?" The woman hesitated, then smiled politely. "I'm his fiancée." Emily stood frozen, her hand still on the doorknob. "I'm sorry," the woman repeated. "Is Nathan here?" Behind her, Nathan had risen to his feet. His eyes widened when he saw who it was. "Mara." Mara. The name hit Emily like a punch she didn't see coming. Nathan stepped forward, slowly, his posture suddenly rigid. "What are you doing here?" Mara glanced at Emily, then back at him. "We need to talk, privately." Emily blinked, her heart thudding. "What is this?" Nathan opened his mouth, then closed it again. For the first time since she'd known him, he looked lost. "I can explain," he said, looking only at Emily. Mara raised an eyebrow. "Explain what? That you disappeared 3 months ago and never returned my calls?" Emily turned to Mara. "Wait, you said you're his fiancée?" "We were engaged," Mara replied, "until he ghosted me without a single word." Emily's stomach twisted. She looked at Nathan. "Is that true?" Nathan ran a hand through his hair, jaw clenched. "It's more complicated than that." Emily took a step back, suddenly feeling the walls closing in. "You said you were building your life back, that someone left you." "She did," Nathan said quickly. "Mara and I were... Look, we were falling apart. We hadn't been right in a long time. The engagement, it was already breaking. I left to get space, not to hurt anyone." "But you didn't tell me," Emily whispered. "I didn't think it mattered anymore," he said. "We were done, Emily." Mara crossed her arms. "You vanished, Nathan. And now I find you here, in someone else's apartment, talking like none of that ever happened?" Emily's chest tightened. "Why didn't you tell me she existed?" "I didn't want to drag her into this, or drag you into that mess," he said. "I was trying to start over. Clean." "But it wasn't clean," Emily said quietly. The air felt sharp, electric. Everything inside her pulsed with betrayal and confusion. She wanted to scream. She wanted to cry. She wanted to believe him. Nathan stepped toward her, eyes pleading. "Emily, please, don't let this be the end of something good before we even started." Mara looked away. "Wow, so this is what it looks like." Emily could barely think. "I need a minute." "I'll leave," Nathan said. "Let you breathe, but don't shut me out before I can tell you everything." And just like that, he walked past Mara and down the stairs. Emily stood there for a long time, barely blinking. Mara let out a tired sigh. "Look, I didn't come here to start drama, I just needed to see him once, to understand how everything we built turned into silence." Emily nodded, still stunned. "I get it." Before Mara turned to go, she looked Emily in the eye. "Be careful," she said. "He's good at being gentle, but he's even better at disappearing." And with that, she was gone. That night, Emily didn't sleep. She sat at her kitchen table with her phone in her hand, scrolling through old messages, replaying every conversation, every warm glance, every little piece of kindness Nathan had ever shown her. Were they real? Or just distractions from a mess he never dealt with? By morning, her chest hurt from the weight of everything she wasn't ready to feel. Her phone buzzed. "Nathan Grant. I'm outside. Can I talk to you?" She looked out the window. He was standing at the corner, waiting, not coming up, not forcing anything. She grabbed her coat. They met by the small park down the street. It was early, cold, and gray. The bench they sat on was damp from the night's rain, but neither of them cared. "I should have told you about Mara," Nathan began. "I know that." Emily didn't speak. He continued. "We were engaged for almost a year, but even before the proposal, we weren't happy. We tried to force it. She wanted security and I wanted silence. I thought building something for both of us would fix what was broken, but it didn't. It made it worse." "Then why not break it off properly?" Emily asked, voice low. "Because I didn't know how. I was tired of hurting her, and I was tired of lying to myself." "So you just left?" He nodded. "Yes, I left. I moved cities, bought this cafe. I told myself I'd start over clean, but I didn't start over, Emily. I just ran." Her throat tightened. "And what about me?" Nathan turned to her, his eyes soft. "You're the first thing I haven't run from in a long time." That hit her deep. "I wanted to earn your trust without bringing all that baggage in," he said. "But that was selfish. I should have told you everything. I just didn't expect to fall for you." Emily swallowed hard. "You still should have told me. I let you get close. I let myself care about you." "I know," he said. They sat in silence. "I'm not perfect," he added, "but I'm trying to be better. Not just for you, for me too." She looked away. "I don't want to lose you," he whispered, "but I'll give you whatever space you need. If this is goodbye, I'll respect it." Emily stood. He did too. For a second, they just stared at each other, both uncertain whether to step forward or walk away. "I just need time," she said finally. "I don't know what to believe right now." Nathan nodded slowly. "I'll wait." She started to walk off, then stopped. "One question," she said over her shoulder. Nathan looked up. "If she hadn't come to my door, would you have ever told me?" Nathan's face changed. Not guilt, not fear, just truth. "I don't know." And just like that, the answer she was most afraid of was the one that cut the deepest. A week passed, then another. Emily hadn't seen Nathan since that conversation at the park. He hadn't texted, he hadn't shown up at the cafe, and he hadn't left for Chicago either. Not yet. At first the silence made her furious. Then it made her sad. But now, it just made her think. She kept replaying her question, "Would you have told me?" And his answer, "I don't know." It wasn't the answer she wanted, but it was real. And maybe after everything, real was more important than perfect. One evening, after a long shift, Emily stopped at the small flower shop next to the cafe. On impulse, she picked up a tiny potted lavender plant. The shop owner smiled. "Someone special?" Emily thought for a second. "Maybe. Someone who used to be." She took the long way home, past the park, past the quiet corners where they used to talk after work, past the bench where he once told her she wasn't invisible. The sun was setting, casting gold over everything. Her phone buzzed. "Nathan Grant. I'm outside. Just wanted to leave something with you. No expectations." Emily's heart raced. She turned the corner, and there he was, standing by the steps of her apartment, holding a worn brown envelope and a to-go coffee tray with 2 cups. One marked E, one marked N. He didn't step forward. He just smiled, tired, hopeful, patient. "I figured you'd want your favorite," he said, raising the cup. Emily walked up, slower than usual. "What's in the envelope?" she asked. "My letter of resignation," he said. Her eyes widened. "I was going to give it to the regional office tomorrow," he added. "But I thought you should see it first." She took it from his hand. The envelope was sealed. "You're really leaving?" "I think it's the right thing," Nathan said. "For now." Emily looked down at the coffee in her hand, then back at him. "You think that's what I wanted?" she asked softly. "No," he said. "I think it's what you deserve, A space to decide what you want, without the weight of a title or a power imbalance or my shadow hanging over everything. The words hung in the air. I love what we had, he continued, but I need to earn whatever comes next. With you. Not because we work in the same place or text every night, but because we choose to show up for each other when it counts. Emily felt something crack in her chest, and then something settle. Do you still think about me? She asked. He smiled, eyes tired. Every day. She opened the envelope slowly. Inside was the resignation letter, and a folded piece of paper she hadn't expected. It was handwritten. Neat. Honest. A letter. To her. She read the first lines aloud. Emily, if you're reading this, it means I chose the hard thing, letting you breathe. I don't know where we go from here, but I know this. You're the first person who's made me want to be still, present, honest. And if this is goodbye, then thank you for waking me up. She folded it back, eyes glossy. I don't want it to be goodbye, she said. Nathan looked up. I'm not ready for promises either, she added. But I'm ready to stop running. From this. From you. Nathan stepped forward slowly. And this time, she didn't step back. He reached out, just enough to brush his fingers against hers. So, what do we do now? He asked. She took a breath, looked down at their hands, and smiled. We start with coffee, she said. They sat on her stoop. No rush, no labels, just two people, finally choosing each other, fully awake, fully aware, and willing to grow. Not perfect, but real. That night, as the sun disappeared behind the rooftops and the world softened into quiet again, Emily looked over at Nathan and whispered, Funny how the wrong text became the beginning of the right story. And somewhere inside her, for the first time in a long while, everything felt exactly where it belonged. The end. And now I ask you, have you ever pushed someone away? Just to realize they were exactly what you needed all along? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your story.